What a wild time to be alive. This past weekend, the Epstein conspiracy cover-up has reached its fever pitch as we now have Republican lawmakers making their Sunday rounds saying we should just move on. And then Democratic lawmakers are twisting the knife as they're realizing finally on the offensive, they have something to fight for. And we're going to dive into it right now. Here's a GOP rep saying, hey, let's all move on from that old Epstein conspiracy thing. Have a listen.
Over the weekend, President Trump said that the allegations in the Jeffrey Epstein files were at least partly fabrications from Democrats, which is why they should not be released. But there are a lot of people in his movement, like Steve Bannon, who say no dice. They want a special counsel. They want everything to come out. What should happen in this Jeffrey Epstein morass?
Listen, I'm probably not the person to ask because I don't speak in conspiracy theory, but at the end of the day, there's a lot bigger issues facing this country than Jeffrey Epstein. The guy is dead and buried. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Nothing to see here, folks. Just knock it off. And by the way, Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail, so there is still somebody who could possibly talk. I mean, this idea of let's move on, that's the type of energy that is not going to let this thing die anytime soon. You don't get to pimp this whole Epstein thing out for years, talk about it, claim you're going to release all the files, and then say, nothing to see here, folks. Here's John Ossoff kind of really feeding the resistance what they want.
President Trump promised to end the wars. He promised to release the Epstein files. Did anyone really think the sexual predator president who used to party with Jeffrey Epstein was going to release the Epstein files?
Yikes. So there it is. I mean, hey, and look, John Ossoff, this guy, I mean, he's getting a lot of political mileage. Even, look, this commenter said, Newsom Ossoff, 2028. He's a young guy, but he's a strongly spoken, right? I believe a senator in Georgia, could be mistaken. And, just kind of came out of nowhere. And, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Use this. And continue to talk about it, continue to shed light on the hypocrisies. You're saying you want to drain the swamp. Well, we're all asking for the swamp to get drained. And that when we didn't mean by draining the swamp, you would try to deport Rosie ODonnell. So over the weekend, we had a video on this. Rosie ODonnell, Donald Trump threatened to revoke her citizenship. And I mean, absolutely wild stuff. I mean, I personally think that's enough to impeach a president over. The abuse of power isn't just what you do with it, it's the threats of what you do with that power. Well, here's Rosie on a radio station saying she couldn't even believe it when it happened.
It had a red check instead of a blue check, so I thought it was a fake account. I said, oh, that's kind of funny, but it's fake. And he said, it's not fake. It's on his Truth Social. I don't go on Truth Social. I don't follow him or anything. And then I sat down and wrote the reply and posted it. And to tell you the truth, that was kind of the end of it for me, because I know he can't do that, but the Supreme Court has given him unbridled powers, and who knows what he can and can't do.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. We've always thought, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that, but he's defying court orders. He's really just, taken over the executive branch and not listening to the other, what was supposed to be co-equal branches. Now, and what's interesting with that is, don't they realize that, a Democratic president could now do the same thing? You've set this precedent to really run wild with everything, with the different executive orders and jamming laws through. I mean, it's just not a good look for democracy. So the conversation about Jeffrey Epstein is continuing. Tara Palmieri here says that MAGA is ready to kill Trump over the Epstein files. I mean, yeah, they're not having it. They are not having this whole just move on.
I talked to Virginia Roberts the day that Pam put out those binders. And I said to her, what do you think about that? And she said, I'm so disappointed. Elon and her, they were messaging. She believed that President Trump and Elon Musk would dig back into this case for her, for the survivors. And she was so disappointed by it. But she was always hopeful. And it's like making a mockery of their pain in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and again, I hate how some of these lawmakers will say, "Oh, I'm not a conspiracy theorist." It's like it's only a conspiracy because they're making it that way. They've never released any of the information surrounding Epstein and what would have gone down with any of the people that associated with him. So, this idea where they can just tell people, "Oh, there's nothing that exists." Well, then why is Ghislaine Maxwell behind bars? Anna Paulina Luna was asked if Steve Bannon would release his interview with Jeffrey Epstein. This was at Turning Point USA over the weekend.
Woman Luna, thank you for all the work you've done on releasing the JFK files and trying to get the Epstein files released. A good friend of yours, Steve Bannon, who I'm also a huge fan of, did an interview with Jeffrey Epstein in 2019, and he recorded almost 15 hours of footage interviewing Jeffrey Epstein. There has never been an interview with Jeffrey Epstein publicly released, except some of the depositions and whatnot. Would you ask Steve Bannon to release this footage now? Because I think it's very relevant and might give us some insight into what Jeffrey Epstein's motivations are and whatnot.
Well, I think you just asked him for us, right? That's actually the first time I'm hearing of that. But yeah, I'd be very interested in seeing that footage, and I think the American people would too.
Yeah, I mean, air it all out. We don't have trust in our institutions to properly, investigate these things. Air it all out. Let the public know what the heck happened. And then we've got this story, which we've shared a little bit of. Michael Wolff was following Epstein around to write a book, I guess, although it sounds kind of seedy. But they talk about all of the different folks that were in the Epstein salon.
You met the Dalai Lama at Jeffrey Epstein's?
Yes, the list goes on.
So you spent time with Jeffrey Epstein. Why did you start spending time with him?
In 2014, he asked if I would be interested in writing a book about him. And I considered it. And part of his then offer was, you can come into my house at any time. You can be part of this kind of ongoing discussion or salon or whatever you might want to call it, that he had virtually every day, filled with people you might want to meet, from Bill Gates to Peter Thiel to Larry Summers to Ehud Barak to Steve Bannon.
Joe Ito from MIT, Jess Staley, who is the CEO of Barclays, Prince Andrew.
Noam Chomsky, the Dalai Lama.
You met the Dalai Lama at Jeffrey Epstein's?
Yes, the list goes on. I mean, the list is extraordinary.
Did you actually meet the Dalai Lama at Jeffrey Epstein's?
Indeed.
I mean, listen, obviously there's going to be people that associated with Epstein that were not creeps, but you got to get all of the information out to really, for the people that were innocent of all this so that they can be vindicated. Because as far as people feel right now, anyone who's associated with them has kind of like an asterisk next to their name. I wanted to go into the conversation around Alligator Alcatraz real quick. I'm going to share a clip from the Lincoln Project, which is a group of Republicans that are like never MAGA folks. And basically they're saying what's going down in Alligator Alcatraz is something that could get prosecuted in the future, like bad stuff. Have a listen.
There will come a day when this is not unprosecuted, because there are things going on at Alligator Alcatraz in particular that are overt human rights abuses, that are illegal in the state of Florida, that are illegal in the United States. And so much of this will resolve itself in the end in court.
Yeah. And we'll have to see what that means. We'll have to see, there are going to be years. I mean, Stephen Miller, some of the things going on out there that violate so many court orders, they're not being, it's almost like that whole flooding the zone thing happening where a lot of these issues are not being addressed, but they're happening, they're being logged. And I really hope a lot of these folks get justice for the terrorizing and, stripping away of human rights that's going on. Here's Representative Maxwell Frost. He says every Floridian should be ashamed that their taxpayer money is being used to put people in cages. Have a listen.
Hey everybody, I just left the Everglades internment camp, the Everglades detention facility for immigrants, and I gotta tell you that the conditions are horrible. These are people being caged. 32 people per cage, only 3 toilets for a group of 32 grown men, and where they drink water is from the toilet. It's only a spigot that comes from the toilet, and that's where you also drink water. The food portions are horrible. It was very hot and warm within the actual tent where the cages are held. I saw people sweating. And, they didn't let us walk fully in They opened the door and let us look in, and people were yelling at us, help me, help me. I heard somebody in the back yell, I'm a U.S. citizen. We're going to look into that. But something that really struck me is as we were walking away from those cages, they started chanting, libertad, 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 freedom. And I saw people in those cages who look exactly like me. People my age. Every Floridian should be ashamed that our taxpayer money is being used for this. Terrorizing communities, putting people in an internment camp full of Latinos. And so I just wanted to do this report out fresh from leaving. We were in there for 2 hours. I will be back. We were able to get some clarification on the legal standing of the facility, but I can tell you this. They said that they're getting all their instructions from ICE. That is a federal detention center that is being run by the state. We are all allowed to go there unannounced whenever we want and see things how they actually are.
Yeah, and again, I mean, oversight is what's needed right now, so we can't just let these things happen. I mean, it's wild. And, you know, there'll be people that say, well, didn't Biden or, you know, Obama put kids in cages? Listen, this whole conversation about, well, like they deported more before. It's like it takes away the human element, the conversation of how we want to treat fellow humans, right? And we have due process in our country, and if we can't comfortably with good respect to fellow humans run this many people through the deportation process, then slow it the F down. Slow it down to the point where you can actually, you know, but these quotas that they have are so barbaric. And I don't think people want this. And we'll just be here to continue to expose it. I don't know what else we can do other than have this conversation and remind people that we're all humans. Some of us have great privilege to be born here, unless you're Rosie O'Donnell, who's about to get deported, apparently, according to Trump, at least threatened to. We're safe here, and some people aren't. And, you know, obviously, you know, there are repercussions to being here illegally, but at what extent, to what collateral damage? And to how many, folks that are in some of these detention facilities that don't have good lawyers might be U.S. citizens or be here on asylum or have done all the right things, not committed any crimes. And we're supposed to just say, no, it's okay. And you really get to see some people, their ability to just let shit happen right in front of their eyes. Not on my watch. We'll be back this afternoon. As always, if you want to donate to the channel, you can go to patreon.com/Dave Neal. Please subscribe, share with your friends if you haven't already. And we'll see you this afternoon. Every day, twice a day, I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.